Multicultural Framework Review, and basically getting to know like what it's about, what its purpose is. We'll also be starting to write our submissions or even completing a submission if you're really quick with it, but help with getting those written down and ready to submit, and then also learning about the different ways you can make a submission. So there's obviously like you can submit a written or Word document, but you can also submit through audio and video. They're quite flexible with this one, including in different languages for the written as well. So um, we'll be going over each of that. So hi to Nicora and Kate. If you guys could complete the Padlet that's being, the link is being posted in chat for the introduction, that would be fantastic. Thank you guys. Got a few on there already. All right, so let's start with why to make a submission. The federal government is now they're leading a country which is from a majority migrant background. We're at 52%, which is up from 44%, which is already really high in 2011, of people that have either been born overseas or have at least one parent who was born overseas. Like I'm a good example. I was born in Australia, but my mother was born in Mauritius. So, and I'm sure everybody here has a different background. Yeah, a very much a multicultural country. So in order to inform their policies, they're conducting this multicultural framework review so that they can design services and policies around their actual population instead of just based on I guess a majority group. It's not even a majority anymore. Things like healthcare and education, obviously important to consider the impact of multicultural communities, and this is more important than ever before. Welcoming Carlo, by the way. There's just a reminder, if everyone could complete the introduction Padlet, which has been posted the link in chat. So we'd really appreciate that. Back to the importance of the submission. It's basically a once in a generation opportunity to help inform the government on the multicultural community that they are struggling to understand, but at least they're trying with things like this. And so that they can make better policies to get better policies for the next generation. So we'll cover how the submission works. Mine will pull up the actual web page where you can see how to submit. So if you could scroll down, Martin, for that. So the form will ask you for your full name, your email, your phone number, and whether or not you're submitting on behalf of an organization, to include that information as well. And you can select whether or not you'd like to be contacted for any follow-up questions, and that's completely optional, completely up to you. And then the website will also, could you scroll down a bit further, Martin?
Sure.
Thank you. We'll also ask if you would like your submission to be public, anonymous, or confidential. And just to cover what these exactly mean, the public one means your submission will be visible to the public, obviously, but also that your name will appear with the submission. Anonymous is your submission will be visible to the public, but your name will not be attached to it. And then confidential means that your name won't be published your submission won't be published publicly, but it will still be viewable by the submission inquiry and the people working on it. So that's a good way to do it if you don't want it to publish it publicly. You can make your submission to the website in one of three ways. I already spoken briefly on it, but written. So you can submit either a lengthy written document in English or a maximum of 300 words in any language. So your preferred language, which is nice that they have that option, especially for something, obviously you're going to have a lot of multicultural respondents. You can record a video in any language or audio in any language as well. And there's a size limit. Our estimates are about a 3-minute video or a 20-minute audio recording. And so you can probably, that's conservative, so you can afford to go a little bit over. So don't need to be completely strict, but I would aim for that sort of time to avoid any hassles of files being too large. And then you can also type in, say, like a Word document and submit it. However, for this, there's only English only if you're going to submit a Word document that you upload. But that's an excellent opportunity to submit quite a long submission if that's what you're after, because then you can really write it to your heart's content. All right. So now we'll go over the introduction Padlet. I see quite a few people have put their information in there. So thanks very much, everybody. Could you pull it up
Of course.
for everybody? Thanks, Martin.
You
And
are?
then welcome into everyone I haven't said welcome to yet. Thanks to everybody for joining. Yeah. All right. So, um, should I read through?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Right.
everyone. That's everyone that's here. Welcome,
Yeah.
everybody.
So you can see mine. Yeah. And it's mine, and I'll read the mine to start with. So I live in Melbourne. And I heard about this framework review through Apsara. I'm a proud Mauritian Australian, and I'm the social media coordinator for the Multicultural Greens Victoria as well. Moving on to Sim Dhaliwal, who's from Adelaide. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing any names, by the way. Um, so you heard about through Apsara as well, and you remember the Greens in Adelaide and trying to set up multiple interest group in Adelaide. That's fantastic. Yeah, definitely get in touch because yeah, I think Apsara is a really good contact person. I'm sure you're already talking to her about that. Um, Apsara is one as well. So Sarah is from Melbourne, Victoria, and she heard about the multicultural review through Tarini Ruet. I think quite a few people here would also be in the same boat. She's the secretary of the Multicultural Greens Victoria. Tarini's done a great job of raising awareness about this review. So although she looks like maybe she wants to comment on that, feel free to unmute if you like.
I'm not the secretary of Multicultural Greens Victoria.
Oh no, I mean great job promoting the review and like the awareness about the multicultural.
Sorry, just wanted to make that clear.
Sorry if I misspoke.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, so Tarini works with Allies in Color, who is partnered with us to help create this, but yeah, separate. And then so yeah, I guess I'll read Tarini. So she's the CEO of Center for Multicultural Political Engagement, Literacy, and Leadership. Bit of a mouthful, so Compel is probably the easier way to refer to it, and Allies in Color as well, which helped create this the submission guide that we'll be going through. We also have Renata Mussolini, joining from NAM, Melbourne. Excellent. Secretary of
sorry, Mussolino. Please don't say Mussolini. Totally different surname.
Oh my God, sorry. Yeah, my bad. That's my bad. Yeah, Mussolino. Yes. Yeah. Fair enough. I'm sorry about that. Secretary of PHILEF. What does PHILEF stand for? Could you clarify, please?
It's PHILEF. Sure. It's PHILEF.
Sorry.
I'm Secretary of PHILEF Melbourne. It's the Federation of Italian Workers and Their Families. So it was initially established in Australia, probably back in the 60s, and we've just revived it in Melbourne. It also exists in New South Wales and South Australia, and it's a left-wing Italian organisation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, and you heard about it through some of the people that participated last week, which is also fantastic. I'm really glad.
You may remember Enrico Moscon. He's the treasurer of our organisation. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. Yeah, I love that he felt positively enough to recommend it. So that's fantastic. Thank you. Thanks, Enrico. Also, moving on, we have Kate. I'm not sure how to pronounce the last name, but Kate is joining from Larakia Land in Darwin. Okay. And so you can't see the link. Could you post it again, Mark?
Wait. Send a link. Oh, whoops, sorry.
For the intro.
Oh, sorry.
So I just couldn't edit.
Oh, right.
I'm sorry, I couldn't edit. And I guess the only information that is still missing from me, sorry for this, guys, is that I found out about the workshop.
I think because it might have been posted before you joined. I think that's why it was missing.
Your audio is a bit choppy, Kate, I think.
Oh, is it? I'm sorry. I found out about the workshop just through an email list. I must have put my name down in an email list. Nice. So this is how I found out about it. Sorry, I'll shut down now.
Thanks, Kate. Let's have David, who's in Melbourne as well, heard about it through Apsara. He's from a multicultural background and very proud of in the history of multiculturalism. It's excellent to hear. And Sharon as well. So Sharon is from Melbourne as well, a master's student who heard about it through their professor. Interesting. That's good to hear. Curious in which to contribute in any way you can. Well, excellent. Well, I think the best way to contribute is to make a submission, just like everybody can contribute to the excellent what's the word? But the patchwork of like everybody else's submissions and really showing everybody like how diverse the group is, I think. And then lastly, we have Mamta, who's from Borlu, who heard about the workshop via Compel. So to Tarini as well. Excellent. Acting President of Ethnic Communities Council of WA. Okay, that's fantastic, from Western Australia. Nice. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for putting those in. We'll move on to the workshop structure. So the review covers a specific set of topics, and your submission needs to cover one or more of these topics for it to be considered. Unfortunately, ones that are like don't address one of these topics can be sort of thrown out. You don't need to cover all the topics, but it does need to be relevant to at least one of the topics. So we'll be going over those to make sure everybody's submissions are considered properly. We'll run through all those topics, and then the workshop might bring some ideas together so that we can, I guess brainstorm is a good word, so that everybody can think about what to include in their submission. All right, so we'll move on to the first Padlet. I'm running ahead of time, so that's good. Could you post the link to the first Padlet in the?
No, so we'll go through this and then we'll go to the Padlet.
Okay, right.
Or do you want me to throw to the Padlet first?
I just think it's good to see the Padlet. It's nice to
okay,
have a picture, especially because I've got a couple of examples in there.
All right, that's all right. All right, do you want to keep going? I'll do it.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, we're looking at this first slide. These are some of the topics that are being covered. So firstly, what experiences have you had with federal government services targeted at multicultural Australians? Could these services be changed or improved? If so, how? So I'm sure some services are already started to pop into your head, but things like settlement services, English language services, especially education and transition services, are very good ones to comment on. But any other ones that you can think of that are targeted at multicultural Australians would be fantastic. And you can feel free to speak about as many different services as you would like, and as specific as you like as well. Other topics, what is your experience with services provided by the federal government for you and members of multicultural communities? Also, what about your experiences with federal legislation and laws? Oh, cool. And how do these services and legislations affect the ability of multicultural Australians to successfully settle and succeed in Australia? So, as you can imagine, this covers a lot of different areas. We've listed some of them there, like healthcare, aged care, childcare, employment. Unfortunately, keynote, immigration and visa issues aren't being considered. They were considered in a previous review. So specifically for immigration and visa issues shouldn't be submitted in this one. So Martin will throw it to the Padlet now, where we're going to brainstorm some of these ideas.
So now you should see a button on your Zoom to join the Padlet, just like when you're joining a breakout room. So just click on join for that.
And you should be able to contribute in the Padlet from the Zoom directly. So it should be, hopefully, fingers crossed, pretty convenient, but we never know with tech. If anyone has any troubles, once again, please put it in the chat, and we'll help you out as soon as we can.
And and I will post, and I'll just pop the
that'd be really good.
Question again. So
okay, so Martin's put the slide for people to refer to as well. Okay, so we'll start by spending say 15 minutes on this Padlet. And so if people could be posting their ideas for basically those topics that we discussed just then, but within the headings that we've got here. So any I guess experiences with federal government services targeted multicultural Australians in the first one, ideas for multicultural services or things current existing multicultural services could do or add to their services to better address the needs of multicultural Australians in the second one. General government services and legislations in the first one. So a third one, sorry. So we have an example there of, for instance, like the role of schools to advance multiculturalism. And then lastly, to add your ideas on other government services. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to take your mic off mute mic off mute if you want to ask a question or put it in the chat.
Just to clarify, I don't think I missed it. I might have did we go through what the scope of terms of reference is and why we're doing it this way? Just so that people understand why we're focusing on this, these few items.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a good point, Tarini. It'd be good to highlight. So the reason why our focus is what it is, is because these are the terms of reference that the government has laid out for this review. So there's a link in the submission guide that we will provide to each of you where you can look at the government website directly. So we've summarized those to make it easier to like understand and connect with, because it can be a bit jargony, I guess, on the government website. But yeah, so they've specified what they want to hear about, and so we've summarized that into these areas. So that's why we're brainstorming for these ones specifically. Does that answer what you were after, Tarini? Yeah, it's a good.
Yeah, I just wanted to make it clear to everyone.
Yeah,
because I wasn't.
So these aren't.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So these are the ones like we want to focus on, but these are just the ideas that the government has limited this scope of the review to, and so that's why we're focusing on these.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just ask a question? I'm just mindful that when we are adding comments or providing contributions, it'd be great to even define in this room what we see as multicultural Australia. We have very different concepts of what that actually means. And that's going to contribute in how we actually respond to the review. I guess from my perspective, anybody who is not First Nations is really defined as multicultural, but I'm sure everyone else has very different perspectives around this. It'd be great to even just maybe unpack that a little bit.
So Turkan, is it Turkan?
Yes.
Am I pronouncing that right?
Turkan.
Yes, all right. Turkan, yes. So the purpose of this review, like the purpose of today's workshop is for you to write about that. So it's not for us to decide what you want, right? This review, it's about empowering anyone who considers themselves a multicultural Australian to make a submission and make their voice heard.
Yeah,
Marty, I completely understand that. I'm just mindful that it looks like they've already made that definition by saying people from NESB, multicultural, diverse. They've already framed that as basically the default if you're not white. So this framework has already got that narrative, and we're going to be contributing to that narrative in our own individual spaces, but we're kind of putting this on a plate that's already saying this is the definition. I think it's really important to be mindful of where you're placing your contributions, where you're placing trust. I guess the concept I would like to refer to as trust.
No, I think that's a really great point.
I'm happy to answer that question, Turkan. The thing is, this is my opinion, right? I don't think we've actually properly defined multiculturalism.
Sorry, let's focus on let's just focus on like filling in the Padlet.
I understand. Marty, I just want to finish what I'm saying. If you can just give me a second. I just think that the definition isn't very clear. So this is your opportunity to actually state that within your submission itself, and to address that so that they are able to address your question. We can't answer that for you. It's up to the government to actually clarify, and you can actually put that in the submission as something that you want clarity on.
Yeah, excellent point, Tarini, and I definitely understand the question, Turkan. But I think Tarini says it really well there.
And really quickly, Marty, I don't think everyone's able to get into the Padlet. Renata has issues, so if you could please help everyone get onto the Padlet, that'll be great. Thank you.
Okay. Renata? Renata?
Yes, yes. I'm working off a tablet, but I was able to get into the other padlet to introduce myself. So I'm not sure how to
Yeah.
do this. You said so.
Cool. Okay, then I might also do then is I'll post a link in the chat. So if you can't do it on Zoom itself, just pop into the link in the chat.
Great.
Amazing.
Thank
Is
you.
there anyone else like who needs some help?
So we're already getting a submission,
Yep.
which is excellent.
Maybe
This is the one working.
So
yeah.
about 10 more minutes on this. So
Yeah,
we've already got a
just because like there was a bit of talking just now, so we'll give you more time
Mhm.
just to do the activity, okay?
Yeah, already got a few in there, which is excellent. We'll take a look through those. But yeah, everyone feel free to pop in there. I don't think there's any wrong answers for this. We'd love to hear about your experiences, and this is just help to brainstorm and give everyone else ideas for the actual submission. So yeah.
It tells me that my post has exceeded the number of characters. What's the character limit?
Oh, so Mamta, so you just make sure you're typing in the, do you see,
Ah.
do you see there's the word, there's like you're typing in the subject?
Oh,
Do you see
I
if you
see.
look bottom, if you write something fantastic, you can write. So
just copy paste what you've already written into the
Yeah,
write something fantastic.
cut and paste. So do I need to
That's it now.
write to the left of the word publish?
yeah, when you're finished, once you're done.
So where am I writing again?
So it should be sort of it's the white section underneath the hexagons.
Yeah,
it should say write something. Oh, you've hit the character limit in that section?
Just a minute. Yeah, look, I'm not sure. Okay. Let's have a look. No, I think I'm right. I'm okay now. Yeah, all good.
Okay,
you're good?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Yep. So I might just to help people, if you look in the chat, just make sure you type in if you're gonna write something very long, just be sure, I'll just wait for it to pop up. It's in the chat. You just make sure you fill in the box. That second box, write something fantastic rather than the subject.
I think I've done it all in one go, right? I've done it all together. I haven't sort of broken it up.
That's no worries. Yeah. The subjects are mostly to guide ideas, but like if it's all in one go, that's also good brainstorming, so no stress.
Thank you.
So I have 5 more minutes left on this one, and someone is responding to you in the chat, Turkan. So sorry about that. Because you can see them.
Welcome, Kat. Sorry, you've popped in. We're just in the middle of an activity. If you're able to figure it out, you can join in. But otherwise, like, don't fret. You can just read what other people are writing, and you can join in later.
So just checking, we are not currently able to see what other people are writing, yeah? The Padlets, we can't see them.
You can actually, Mamta. So if you
Is it popping up on your end?
If you like scroll down,
where am I scrolling?
are you able to see it?
Under each of the headings, it should be so where your responses are showing up. If you scroll down, there should be like there's quite a few points in there now, which is
I
excellent.
couldn't even see my own response actually. Okay, so
right.
Well, I couldn't see anything actually. I could just see the headings. That's all.
Interesting.
I can see them now. Yeah, I can see them.
Oh, you can see them now. Excellent. Thank you. Nice. We also have those notes in the, everyone should be able to see them in the browser or
I haven't.
Let me know if they're not popping up.
Yep, and yep.
Do you see my submissions at all? Do you see my ideas at all?
Oh, I'm not sure which ones are yours because there's quite a few in here. So
so I did one on
the
settlement services. I did another one on
yes. Well, I have one here, settlement services. Yeah, I can definitely see that one.
And one I did on English language, English lessons, and then one I did on citizenship.
English language education, yeah, and citizenship test, yep.
Yeah, good.
Each of those.
Right, good. Because I didn't click on the plus signs, that's why I got concerned.
No worries. So we'll probably wrap it up now and then go over some of the responses. Yeah, if everyone could just sort of finish up whichever one they're working on.
Yeah, they can continue. They can continue.
Yeah, you can continue. Yeah, but like just we'll go into sort of a
all right.
feedback.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I like I'll take a look. I think that
Do you want to turn your camera on as well?
Oh,
so
okay.
People can see this, like you in this video. Yeah.
Amazing. Sorry about that. Actually, I'd like to hear, Mamta, I'd like to hear more about your point about like settlement services in the regions. Would you like to share a little more detail with unmute and share a little more detail about that?
Sure. So currently, we are so the organization that I founded, United in Diversity, is running a jobs program in the town of Morawa, which is like a town in the Midwest of WA. And what we found was that whilst there is an appetite for migrants to want to go and work in a regional area, the settlement services in that area are just not there. So as a result, the English language lessons, for example, that's why I made the point about distance learning. They were a challenge. There is no settlement service of any kind in Morawa. The nearest town is Geraldton, which is like 2 hours drive from Morawa. And so what we have done is created a diversity and inclusion working group in the town, which consists of the people from the town, the employers of these people, and some of the services in the town. And so I thought, if this could be a designated settlement service that was coming in the town, then this process could be much better, because this settlement service could not only help migrants that are coming to town of their own volition or under another program, but they could also encourage migrants who have not yet come to Australia. Before they come to Australia, they could market our regional areas to those migrants, because by doing so, we are killing many birds with one stone. I mean, I don't mean to be violent to the birds, but what I'm saying is our regional areas are crying out for people. In the absence of settlement services, it becomes very challenging for migrants to even want to, or have a even think about going and settling in regional areas. And as a result, I don't know about other states, but in Western Australia, in 2015, billions of dollars were invested in 9 towns, which were called super towns, to bring their infrastructure up to a level where they could accommodate 10,000 people. So each town is good enough to, for 10,000 people to live in it. And Morawa is one of those towns. Morawa is a super town. And the population of Morawa is 650 people. So we've got all this money invested in our regional areas. We need people in our regional areas to keep our economies going, especially in WA. We need our regions to really thrive. But here we've got a migrant workforce that is very willing to, to be, accommodated into regional towns. However, in the absence of settlement services, that isn't happening. So,
amazing.
So rather than, having these bandages of let's import workers from outside because we've got worker shortages, there is existing workers here that can be taken, but all we need are settlement services.
Could not agree more, Mamta. Thank you. Cool. And just I really love like some of the submissions here.
Yeah, it's really excellent ones.
Yeah, around like kind of
definitely encourage everyone to take a look through, because they like help prompt your ideas for your own submissions as well.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, excellent ideas.
Oh, and also there is one little bit. I think there's a submission here about like citizen science facility. Oh no, sorry, no, that's okay. Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, like that's really good. Just to remind everyone to connect all of your submissions to like just like multiculturalism where you can. Yeah. All right.
Cool. All right. So
we can move on.
We'll be moving on to a second Padlet.
So I'm going to go straight to the Padlet.
Yeah, you're able to pull that one up. Marlon, and so because also the slide for it. So maybe we'll go through the slide.
Oh, sorry. Would you like the slide or the Padlet?
Yeah, we'll start with the slide. Yeah.
All right.
Cool. So these will be some more of the topics that the framework review, the multicultural review, will be focusing on. So, firstly, how do you and members of your multicultural community learn about federal government services and laws that affect you? Do you feel that you have all the information that you need about the federal government? Like, are they successfully communicating that to you and your community? And are you and other members of multicultural communities able to easily access and learn about government services and laws in your language or any language other than English? Why or why not? And what can be done to improve these? And so there are some examples there, but that's what we'll be focusing on in this second Padlet. Marna, could you pull up the next Padlet, please?
For sure.
Does
Right.
anyone have any questions on those topics? But yeah, similar to the first Padlet, but just with 3 sort of fresh questions. Yeah.
All right, and I've just checked the link to the Padlet.
Yep. If everyone
and
can click join.
I'll pop open the slide.
We have an example there, but yeah, so this panel will be just focusing on the communication by the government relevant to multicultural services, and particularly in languages other than English. Yeah, and how you feel that the government has been communicating with services relevant to you and also broader services as well. Yeah, we'll be taking another 15 minutes on this one. And yeah, please everybody give it a shot.
Hi, Dewani, welcome from Indonesia.
Hi there. It's really nice here.
Oh, I'm jelly. I'm really jelly. All right. She's back for a second bite at this workshop.
Yeah. So we're just doing the third Padlet focusing on communication. Dewani, if you'd like to join in, the links in the chat.
Okay.
Do you want to just respond? Dewani, can you hear us now? Dewani?
She's still mute as well.
Oh, I think you're on mute. You might be muted, Dewani. We're doing the activities
I can
right
hear
now.
it now. Sorry, I
Oh,
can hear you.
doing the activities, that's why no one's talking.
Yeah.
But if anyone has any questions, feel free, okay?
About 10 more minutes left on this. I'm loving the responses put in so far. Feel free to add a second response if you have it. Yeah, thanks everyone. We're getting a lot of really good responses around language. I also want to prompt people to comment like if they feel like they're provided the information that they need to like access services or get involved in the different services. Like, do you feel like that federal government is doing enough, or if they can any suggestions for other things they can do to make sure that people hear about services and get the information they need to begin with as well? Just a prompt.
Here on the Zoom, like during, I'm just like, how the hell? Are you, huh?
Tell me don't.
Oh no. Oh, you're muted.
I just Mamta just asked a really good question in the chat. I just wanted to answer for everybody that the information that we put in the Padlet will be shared to everybody after the session today. So don't worry about trying to memorize it or anything. Excellent question, Mamta. just a few more minutes on this one. Heaps of responses so far, which is fantastic. Thanks, everybody.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. Yeah, I think for those of you, if you're reading the others, you can actually see like a very clear theme kind of coming up. It's a lot about like access to services using, in language, definitely like a huge gap. I yeah, and what I also really like is that some of these submissions actually have very specific examples, like you've pointed out exactly where the failings are, Centrelink, Centrelink, there's discussion about kind of lockdown policies, and all of that kind of stuff. I think that's really, really good. And it actually makes the submission really strong because, you think about it from the perspective of like you're the person in the government, like reading this, right? Like, kind of, it's like if you just say, oh, poor communication, like, but you don't specify an example, it can be very difficult for them to know what you're talking about. So I think you're doing really, really well there. Keep up the great work. Fantastic. We'll move on to our next activity.
All right, excellent. So yeah, we're moving on to the next Padlet. I'll just get Martin to pull up the slide. Just be covering more topics that the review will touch on, that you can touch on in your submissions for the review, I should say. Right, so yeah. Firstly, has anything stopped you or people you know from participating in Australian society due to being from a multicultural or non-white background? Do you think that the federal government is doing a good job at promoting multiculturalism in Australia, social cohesion and inclusion as well? Why or why not? And then also, what do you believe could be improved or changed? Any ideas are fantastic to include in the panel and also the submission, of course. And then, is the government doing enough to help multicultural Australian get into leadership roles? And I want to highlight that this is the leadership roles, of course, in politics, but also just in any service. It might be at wherever you work or in media, in schools, public services, businesses. Sports is another key sector as well. Any kind of leadership position, so not just in politics specifically. Yeah, okay, so we'll bring up the Padlet. So you'll be able to join in just a second. Does anyone have any questions on those?
We'll throw a Padlet.
Of course, you can feel free to
I will
unmute.
also throw the link in the chat. Here
Yep.
you are, and I'll just post like the questions there as well.
So yeah, everyone feel free to get started. I know that it's a lot of submissions and maybe a bit writing heavy, but as you can see, we're getting really great ideas out of it, and it's really like fantastic to get everyone's ideas and prompt each other to make great submissions. So thanks everybody for contributing. So we'll do another around 15 minutes on this and finish up. We'll come back together at 8:20. Thanks everybody.
Hi, Pumavi. Good to see you again. See you again.
Talking to me.
Yes.
No, Dewani, sorry.
Dewani.
Kumavi,
Yes.
who just joined. Sorry, everyone.
Yeah,
I'm loving the sorry.
no one's doing leadership, Lamau.
It's the hardest one.
So yeah, I'm loving the responses from everybody so far. 5-minute warning. So keep them coming. Yeah, thanks. No worries, Renata. Thanks for letting us know.
Oh, yes, Renata. Yes, you definitely will be sent all the info. So this does not go to the review. This is to help you, just like help you get started. And then kind of like you can use what you've written here to go off and write your own submissions. All the Padlets and everything will be sent to you in an email tomorrow.
Submission. Should have given a submission guide.
Oh, and actually, maybe before you go, I'll give you the submission guide. No, not the Chinese one.
Renata might speak Mandarin. You don't know. Depends what she prefers to read it in.
Okay.
So we'll finish up on this Padlet. Everyone feel free to keep writing, but I'd like to dive into a couple of the responses. Who wrote the public holidays one? Because we've had that one in the past, and I was hoping someone could flesh out their response a bit.
That was me.
Yeah, are you happy to talk a bit about it, David?
Sure. I just think that the public holidays that we have are very much a reflection of our British Christian culture. We have public holidays for Christmas and Easter, which are Christian holidays. We have public holidays for a horse race, and there's so many other cultures here. We could be having public holidays for Eid. We could be having public holidays for Chinese New Year. We have public holidays for we have a public holiday for the English New Year, but there's other New Years. So I just think our calendar is very much a reflection of our English heritage. But if we're a multicultural society, we should be including other cultures in our sort of recognised public holidays.
100%. Yeah, completely agree. Even like I've heard that unions support the idea of floating public holidays, so people that can, I guess instead of being forced to take a public holiday for things like Easter and Christmas, they can, can take public holidays, for whatever their
culture
holidays they want to celebrate. Yeah,
Sure. That makes sense.
I'm also seeing a theme.
Yeah,
sure,
can I
of course,
add to that? I mean, I've worked in unions for decades, and in fact, many enterprise agreements do have written into them that people of other faiths get those days of importance to them. So that, and clearly that's in places that are really unionised and have EBAs, but it is something that is recognised by unions who have members in CALD.
So hopefully we can see more of that. Absolutely, it's good to hear that some unions are already building those into contracts. I'm also seeing a theme of, like, for instance, people moving to Australia and their qualifications not being recognised. Would anyone like to speak a bit more and dive into that a bit? There's a few responses that touched on that.
I'm happy to talk about that because I'm currently experiencing something like that. So that example that I put about the vet sector not being flexible enough is something that, again, one of our employees in Morawa is facing.
I think you've gone on mute, Manta. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Sorry, I just have to move because this is a bit noisy here. Let me just move.
No worries.
That's okay. We'll throw to someone else then. I like somebody wrote about multicultural leadership of for young leaders. Who wrote that? Would you like to speak to that?
That was also
Just
me,
tell
by
us.
the way.
Yeah, I also made some comments about young leaders. I find that when you look at advisory committees or you look at groups, you're seeing the same names, same faces on every single board, on every single committee. I'm like, hello, there's so much more of us out there. I'm finding that a lot of government agencies really lean towards voices and representation that align with their own value structures and their own ethos. And I think there's a danger in that, because if we don't hear the diverse voices, how do we address issues? How do we capture emergent issues, and how we actually have our finger on the pulse? I find that there's a power disparity as well, which needs to be looked at and addressed as well. And I love young people's voices. They are so powerful, and they shouldn't be kept into these young people spaces where they talk to one another. Young people should be talking to everybody. They are just absolutely incredible, and we need to make sure that that's a part of governments moving forward when they are addressing issues. Every issue, they don't just have this youth advisory committee and they talk to each other. I'm like, hello, like, this is an amazing resource we need to tap into a lot more.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Dogan, for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah, that was excellent. Mamta, do you want to quickly speak before we move on?
Yes. So very quickly, Martin, currently our vet sector especially isn't equipped to look at people who come from countries where they had a history of displacement. So what happens in these kind of circumstances is that people get very skilled at doing certain things, especially in the trade area, but they never actually do a formal qualification. So they get here and they've got very high level of skills that our community needs. However, they have to, as I said in my submission, they have to do either of the two things. Either they settle for a very low level, so they are eternally a labor, which has happened to one of my students, or they choose to, go and do a course at TAFE, which sometimes they can't do because that's essentially a Western model, and they shouldn't have to do. We should be flexible enough in this country to say we are in dire need of people with certain skills, and we are going to do everything in our power to facilitate them having a piece of paper that makes us feel at peace that they will do the works in safe conditions, that they won't have any occupational health and safety hazards. But at the moment, we are again struggling with one of the employees in Morawa. And there just seems to be need for advocacy. So I am going to be writing that in my submission for sure.
Amazing. Amazing. Great work, Mamta. All right. Are you ready would you like to move on?
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody. And yeah, once again, all of these answers will be available to everyone after the workshop. So don't stress about that. We'll move on to Padlet 4. This is the last one. So hopefully don't get too fatigued. We can power through and finish this off. All right. So for the fourth one, what experiences have you had with local multicultural and refugee organizations? What can be changed so these organizations can better support multicultural Australians and their communities? If you are here representing an organization or you want to submit a response representing an organization, how can your organization be supported to provide services that you deliver to members of the multicultural community and refugee communities in Australia? And also for organizations, do you get funding from local, state, or federal governments? Do you believe the current funding models work? And do federal, state, and local governments work well together when engaging with your organization and providing funding? How could this funding model be improved? And even if you don't work from an organization, feel free to, in this Padlet, contribute your thoughts on that. Obviously, in this submission, it just depends whether or not you're from an organization. Yeah, we'll do another 15 minutes on this one. Thanks, everybody. You should be able to press join to pull up the Padlet now, and also the link is in the chat. just a few more minutes on this one. Thanks, everybody.
Do we?
All right. Thanks, everyone. We'll bring it back. Do you want to touch on one, Martin? Barty?
Yeah. So sounds like lots of people, lots of people lots of people, like lots of you are involved with community organizations, aren't you? That's really amazing. There's one here that involves like a there's one here like kind of so much to be improved, and there's bits about governance, my favorite topic. Who wrote that one? Would you like to just give us a little more information?
I wrote that part.
Oh, amazing. All right, go for it.
Sorry. Look, I just think that multicultural organizations are woefully inadequate in governance training, oftentimes. And I find that funding bodies are very scared about being politically incorrect in many instances to pull them up. So, that being said, I don't think that, we can really justify anything if we don't train the community organizations. Now, having said that, I have personally gone through 2 different governance training programs in the community because I did not have a background in community services. I'm a lecturer. I was trained in teaching. And 5 years ago, I decided to jump into, community service sector. So didn't have any understanding of what's to be done, how it's to be done, and what's involved. So put myself through voluntarily through a couple of courses. But what is really required and what was taught in those programs, again, there was a big gap. So things like, I have come across organizations and volunteers who have no idea that the constitution of an organization is the framework within which the organization is supposed to work. There is that kind of level of, inadequacy in the understanding of volunteers, dare I say, especially from the multicultural communities. They do not have this understanding. Okay.
And so just to clarify, Mamta, was the solution you putting forward would be like governance sort of training Yeah, so what would that look like? Sorry, if you could expand on that.
That would look like actually taking a constitution of an organization and saying, okay, guys, this organization is creating scenarios. This organization is doing this. Does it fit within its framework, within the constitution or not? Giving opportunities to critique, to have a think about it, and most importantly, training our multicultural volunteers to say, if you're sitting on a board, you need to speak. You do not need to defer to the leadership, because a lot of us come from cultures where deference to leadership is taught. That is our culture. And that's what we do when we sit on the boards. So not working.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
I love that. Love that a lot. Right.
So we'll probably look to start wrapping up the meeting so everyone can get out of here. We'll finish up. Martin will just put up the submission guide. So we've created a document with all the information